Welcome to our deep dive into AI. We've got a fascinating mix of articles and reports about what's coming in 2024, especially with the European Union making some bold moves.
Lowell is right. It's really remarkable how much attention and resources they're pouring into this.
Exactly. It feels like a turning point. These reports suggest that AI is going to be a lot more than just a cool tech thing. It's going to be, well, essential.
I'd agree with that. Like you've got the EU talking about making Europe an AI powerhouse, not just keeping up, but leading the way.
Okay, so no more science fiction. This is real world stuff we're talking about. The reports highlight how much more practical AI is becoming and just how powerful. Imagine AI that's so good at predictions, it's almost scary.
Right, and that's not hyperbole. Businesses could use that to spot risks before they even become problems, or tailor products to what customers want before they even know they want it.
It's like they're reading our minds. But seriously, what's driving this leap forward?
They're talking a lot about these advanced machine learning algorithms. It's like they're crunching insane amounts of data, way more than humans ever could, and they're able to see these subtle patterns we'd completely miss.
So it's not just about having mountains of data, it's about making sense of it in a way that actually makes better decisions.
Exactly. And then there's the whole way we interact with computers. Right now, it's all clunky interfaces and those chatbot things that never seem to get what you need.
Don't get me started on chatbots. But wait, I think these reports mentioned that's all about to change, right? Something about natural language processing.
NLP, yeah, that's the key. It's like computers finally starting to get us,
Yeah.
having an actual conversation instead of trying to speak robot.
So instead of me trying to figure out the right keywords to get what I need.
Imagine calling customer service and actually getting helpful answers right away. Or your computer understanding complex instructions, not just those basic commands.
Okay, now you're talking. Sign me up for that future. And what about AI automation? Feels like that's been around for a while, but is it getting more advanced too?
It's not just replacing simple tasks anymore. We're talking AI that can handle these complex workflows, which means people can finally be freed up for more strategic thinking and creative work.
So less time on those boring, repetitive tasks, and more time to focus on the big picture. There's an example here that I thought was pretty cool. A small online store started using an AI chatbot just to handle those basic customer questions.
Oh, I'm curious, what was the outcome?
Their customer wait times dropped by 40%, plus their team had like 30% less workload. So they could actually spend time giving more personalized service to the people who really needed it.
It's amazing how AI can create these win-win situations. And it scales up too. Imagine a mid-sized company, maybe in manufacturing. They could use AI to predict exactly how much product they'll need weeks in advance.
No more guessing games with inventory. No more scrambling when demand suddenly spikes. Makes total sense. But hold on, all this amazing technology, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. Cybersecurity. More AI means more things for hackers to target, right?
You're absolutely right. As AI gets embedded into pretty much everything, protecting data is more critical than ever. But here's the interesting part. AI is also becoming our best defense.
Wait, so it's like a digital arms race?
Kind of, yeah. Picture AI that constantly analyzes network traffic, picking up on tiny anomalies that human analysts would likely miss. Or AI that can anticipate and neutralize those cyber attacks before they even happen.
That's some next level protection for sure. Really shows you how much is at stake as AI gets more sophisticated.
And this is where the European Union's approach is particularly noteworthy. They're not just all about pushing AI development as fast as possible, they're also laser focused on responsible AI.
Right. They're making Europe an AI powerhouse, but not at the cost of values like privacy and ethics, right?
And they're backing that up with serious investment. The reports you sent mentioned billions going into these initiatives all across Europe, supporting startups, research, even giving businesses incentives to adopt AI in the right way.
So it's not just words, they're actually putting money behind it. But how? What are some of the concrete things they're doing? Like this AI factories thing, it sounds like something out of a movie.
It's a pretty innovative concept. Think of them as hubs built around these massive supercomputers the EU has. Startups and researchers can get access to a level of computing power that would normally be way too expensive.
So instead of hitting a wall because they can't afford the tech they need, they've got this boost right from the start.
Exactly. It levels the playing field and really helps accelerate innovation. But it's not just about the hardware. Data is absolutely essential for AI, and the EU is creating these common European data spaces.
Okay, data spaces. Is that like a giant digital library for AI?
It's more about breaking down those data silos that slow progress down. Imagine secure, ethical ways for data to be shared across different countries, different industries. It's like giving AI development a massive fuel injection of quality information.
It's like they're laying the groundwork for a whole AI ecosystem, but it's only as good as the people building it, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
That's why they're also putting a ton of resources into education and training. Their goal is to have 1 million Europeans trained in these deep tech fields by 2025. And it's not just fancy degrees, it's about practical skills that companies need right now.
So it's not just about building the tech, it's about making sure people know how to use it safely, effectively, and ethically. But all this is still pretty high level. I'm dying to know how this is playing out in real life.
Let's get into it then. Let's take a look at how this AI revolution is changing different industries. Why don't we start with something everyone finds fascinating: robots?
Okay, now you're talking. Are we talking like those super advanced robots we see in movies, like an eye robot?
We're not quite there yet, but the progress being made with AI-powered robots is pretty incredible. Imagine robots that can actually learn from experience, adapt to all sorts of complex environments, and work safely alongside humans.
So not just following pre-programmed instructions, but actually learning and evolving as they go.
Exactly. This is already transforming things like manufacturing and logistics, and it's also got huge potential in healthcare.
Healthcare robots. Now that's where it gets really interesting. Tell me more about how AI is making a difference there.
Imagine AI helping us diagnose and treat diseases much more effectively. There are already EU startups using AI to analyze medical images with incredible accuracy.
So faster, more accurate diagnoses, that's incredible.
It's like having a superpowered medical detective. And it's not just images. Another EU startup is using AI to actually process those emergency calls that come in.
Wait, how does that work?
Their AI system analyzes the caller's voice, even their speech patterns, to figure out how distressed they are, and then it prioritizes the calls.
So the emergency services know exactly which situations are most urgent. Wow, talk about AI having a real-world impact. But it's not all life or death stuff. One of these reports mentioned how AI is shaking things up in the biotech and chemical industries too.
Oh, absolutely. AI is speeding up drug discovery, helping design new materials with mind-blowing properties, and even playing a role in developing sustainable alternatives to things like meat and textiles.
Sustainable alternatives, now that's something I can get behind. Got any examples of how AI is contributing to a greener world?
There's a really cool Dutch startup that's using AI to design better proteins. This could totally change the food industry. Imagine plant-based meats that are not only tasty, but way healthier and more sustainable.
Plant-based meat designed by AI. I gotta try that. But it seems like AI can do more than just transform industries. What about those global challenges like climate change? I bet AI can help there too, right?
You're spot on. AI is becoming this really crucial tool in fighting climate change. It's transforming weather forecasting, helping us get better at predicting and preparing for those extreme weather events, and even helping businesses become more sustainable.
So AI can help us understand and address climate change in ways we never could before.
Absolutely. Think of it as a powerful ally. It helps us see the problem more clearly and find solutions we wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
It's like AI can help us create a more sustainable future for everyone. This is pretty inspiring stuff.
It is. And the EU is really leading the charge, not just in developing the technology, but also thinking carefully about how to use it responsibly. It's not just about progress, it's about progress that benefits all of humanity.
It really is amazing to see how AI is being used for these massive problems. But, with all this power comes a lot of responsibility, right? We touched on the EU's focus on ethical AI earlier, but I'm curious to dig a little deeper. How are they putting that into practice?
One of the biggest things they've done is the AI Act. It's a pretty landmark piece of legislation that basically sets ground rules for how AI is developed and used in Europe.
So, like a rule book for AI, but what's the main focus? Are they trying to stop those sci-fi scenarios where robots take over the world?
Not exactly, no. The AI Act takes what they call a risk-based approach. So they're focusing on those AI systems that could potentially pose the highest risk to people. Things like AI used in critical infrastructure, law enforcement, or for making important healthcare decisions.
So it makes sense put the strongest safeguards around the AI applications where the stakes are really high. But is it just about having rules and regulations?
It's more than that. The EU is also putting a lot of effort into research and initiatives that specifically promote ethical AI development.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in experts from all different sectors to make sure they're considering all these different perspectives.
It's like they're trying to build a culture of responsibility around AI and not just rely on a bunch of rules that people might try to get around.
Exactly. And this approach is actually influencing the global conversation about AI ethics. It's kind of setting a precedent for other countries who are grappling with these same challenges.
Okay, all this talk about the EU's vision for AI is great, but I'm really keen to see how this is all actually being applied. What about this Gen AI for EU initiative? It keeps popping up.
So Gen AI for EU is all about turning AI potential into real-world solutions. They're focusing on 14 key industries in Europe. It's like this massive collaborative effort, bringing together AI startups, researchers, and those big companies to create these groundbreaking innovations.
14 industries, that's huge. Where are they making the biggest impact?
Well, we already talked about robotics and healthcare, but Gen AI for EU is also having a major impact in fields like biotechnology, chemicals, advanced materials, manufacturing, even mobility.
So they're taking this multi-pronged approach, using AI for everything from creating new materials to revolutionizing transportation.
Exactly. And within each of those industries, they're tackling some very specific challenges. Like, for instance, in biotech and chemicals, Gen AI for EU is helping companies develop these new sustainable materials that could replace things like plastics or those traditional textiles we've been using for so long.
Wow, so using AI to help create a more eco-friendly world.
That's the idea. And in manufacturing, they're using AI to make production processes much more efficient and less wasteful.
So AI is basically becoming the ultimate factory manager.
Uh-huh. You could say that. And it's not just about efficiency. AI is also helping manufacturers create workplaces that are safer and more ergonomic for their employees.
That's a win-win for everyone. Okay, tell me more about how Gen AI for EU is impacting mobility and transportation. It seems like AI would be a perfect fit there.
Definitely. Gen AI for EU is playing a big role in developing transportation systems that are smarter, safer, and more sustainable. Imagine self-driving cars that can easily navigate those busy city streets, or intelligent traffic management systems that reduce congestion and emissions.
It's like AI is shaping the future of transportation.
It really is. And then there's the potential for AI in aerospace. Gen AI for EU is supporting all sorts of projects using AI to design aircraft that are more fuel efficient and to develop autonomous flying systems.
AI shaping the future of flight. That's pretty mind-blowing. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second and talk about cybersecurity. That's another area where Gen AI for EU is doing some important work.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is becoming more crucial every day, and Gen AI for EU is right at the forefront of developing those AI-powered solutions that can help us stay ahead of all those cyber threats that are out there.
Tell me more. I'm all ears. How is AI being used to fight cybercrime?
Well, AI can analyze huge amounts of data in real time, and it can look for those subtle patterns and anomalies that might indicate a cyber attack is happening.
So it's like having a digital detective constantly watching your systems for anything suspicious.
Exactly.
No.
And AI can be used to build much more sophisticated security systems that can actually adapt and evolve to deal with those new threats as they emerge.
That's reassuring, especially as cyber attacks keep getting more advanced. But I gotta ask, are there any concerns about using AI for, surveillance or other things that could be invasive?
That's a very valid concern, and the EU is taking that very seriously. They're really working to make sure these AI-powered security systems are used responsibly and ethically. Remember that AI Act we talked about earlier? Well, it's got specific provisions to protect against misuse and ensure that basic human rights are respected.
That's good to hear. Now, I've got to ask about something I saw in one of these reports that sounded super futuristic, virtual worlds and digital twins. What are those all about?
They sound like science fiction, but they're becoming more and more real. Imagine being able to step into a virtual world that's so realistic it feels like you're actually there, or having a digital replica of a city or a factory that you can use to run simulations and test out different scenarios. That's the power of these AI-powered virtual worlds and digital twins.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about how AI is being used to create these virtual experiences.
Well, for those virtual worlds, AI can be used to generate these incredibly lifelike environments, create characters that feel real and react to your actions, and even craft those complex storylines that change based on the choices you make.
It's like AI is becoming the ultimate storyteller.
In a way, yes. And for digital twins, you can use AI to analyze real-time data from all sorts of sensors and create a virtual version of something physical. It's like having a living, breathing digital model that's constantly being updated.
So if you had a digital twin of a city, for example, you could use it to model traffic patterns, test out new infrastructure ideas, maybe even predict and prevent potential problems.
Exactly. It's like having a virtual lab where you can experiment and innovate without any real-world consequences.
That's a powerful tool, but it doesn't have to be just cities, right? You could use this for anything, like manufacturing plants or even entire ecosystems.
You're absolutely right. And GenAI for EU is supporting projects that are doing just that. They're exploring the potential of digital twins in a ton of sectors, from healthcare and manufacturing to agriculture and environmental monitoring.
It's fascinating how AI is blurring those lines between the physical and the digital. We've talked a lot about the private sector, but what about government? Is GenAI for EU doing anything to support AI development in the public sector?
The public sector has so much to gain from AI, and GenAI for EU is definitely helping government agencies all across Europe harness that power. Think about using AI to improve the efficiency of public services, to make better use of data, and to come up with solutions that really put citizens first.
So AI could actually help governments be more responsive to their citizens.
Exactly. Imagine AI-powered chatbots that can give citizens instant answers to their questions about government services, or AI that can help policymakers make better, more informed decisions.
AI making government work better for the people? That's a win in my book.
Yeah.
But it's not just about efficiency, right? AI could also help create public services that are more equitable and accessible to everyone.
You got it. And the EU is really focused on making sure AI benefits all of society, not just a select few. Now, you mentioned earlier how incredibly diverse Europe is, linguistically and culturally. I'm curious, how is the EU ensuring that AI development doesn't lead to the dominance of just a few languages or cultures?
That's a great question, and it's something the EU is very aware of. They're committed to preserving that linguistic and cultural diversity, even in the digital world, and they're taking some concrete steps to make sure AI development reflects that.
Like what? What are they doing specifically to protect that diversity?
One of the key things they're doing is something called the Alliance for Language Technologies, or ALT-EDIC for short.
LT-EDIC, okay, what is that exactly? So they're working to create this common European infrastructure for language technologies. Basically, they're developing and sharing language resources, things like data sets and tools that can be used to build AI systems that support all European languages.
So instead of AI systems that only understand a handful of those dominant languages, we'd have AI that's accessible to everyone, no matter what language they speak.
Exactly. It's about making sure AI doesn't create these new digital divides and exclude people.
That's so important. We want AI to be a force for inclusion, not division. Now, we've been focusing a lot on Europe, but I'm curious about the bigger picture. Who are the other major players in AI globally, and how does the EU's approach compare?
The US and China are obviously huge players in the AI world, but the EU's approach is pretty different. The US and China often prioritize speed and commercialization, move fast and break things. But the EU is putting much more emphasis on responsible and trustworthy AI development.
So it's less about winning some kind of AI race and more about making sure AI is used for the right reasons.
Precisely. The EU's whole focus on human-centric AI, with all that emphasis on ethics, transparency, and keeping humans in the loop, is setting a new standard globally.
It's definitely refreshing to see a different approach to tech development, one that puts people and values at the forefront.
I agree. The EU is showing the world that it's possible to balance innovation with responsibility, and a lot of other countries are starting to take notice.
It's like they're creating a roadmap for other countries who want to develop and use AI in a way that really benefits everyone. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. I'm definitely starting to grasp how big this AI revolution really is. But honestly, I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed. AI is evolving so quickly, it's hard to keep up.
I totally understand. It's a lot to process. AI seems to be changing everything around us at warp speed. But remember, AI is ultimately a tool. It's up to us humans to decide how we want to use it and what kind of future we want to create.
You're right. So for someone who wants to stay informed and engaged with all this, what advice would you give?
Stay curious, keep learning, and make sure you're engaging with different perspectives. There are so many great resources out there, both online and offline. Articles, podcasts, online courses, local meetups.
And it's not just about understanding the technical side of AI, right? It's also about thinking critically about how AI will impact society and engaging in those discussions about ethical use.
Absolutely. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to shape its development in a positive way.
Well said. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the EU's vision for AI to all those groundbreaking applications and the ethical questions we need to be asking. But I want to circle back to something you said earlier about small and medium-sized businesses. We've been focusing on the big players, governments, and large companies, but how can SMEs get involved and benefit from all this?
That's a great question. SMEs are really the heart of the European economy, and they have a massive role to play in this AI revolution. The good news is that AI is becoming a lot more accessible than it used to be. There are tons of tools and resources out there specifically designed for SMEs.
So what are some practical ways that a small business owner could start incorporating AI?
One of the easiest things to do is start with those AI-powered tools that can automate some of those routine tasks. Things like customer service, data entry, or managing social media.
So it's like hiring a virtual assistant who can handle all that boring stuff, which frees up the business owner to focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly. And as they get more comfortable, they can start exploring other AI applications, maybe using AI to analyze their data, personalize the customer experience, or even develop completely new products and services.
Well, that's exciting. But I imagine there are also some challenges that SMEs might face, right?
Of course.
Hmm.
Some common ones are a lack of expertise in AI, concerns about data privacy and security, and just the cost of implementing these new AI solutions.
So how can they overcome those hurdles?
The EU knows about these challenges, and they're doing a lot to help SMEs navigate this new landscape. They're providing funding and support for AI adoption, offering training programs, and developing resources tailored specifically for SMEs.
So it's not just about talking about AI, it's about giving those smaller businesses the tools they need to actually use it.
Exactly. The EU is really committed to making AI accessible to all businesses, no matter their size. But even with all this support, it can still be intimidating for an SME owner to dive into AI. What advice would you give?
I would say start small, focus on one specific problem you want to solve, and don't be afraid to ask for help. There are lots of experts and resources out there to help guide SMEs.
That's great advice. It's all about taking that first step and remembering that you don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Exactly. This AI revolution is an incredible opportunity for all businesses to innovate, grow, and create a better future.
It's amazing to think about all the positive changes AI could bring, especially with the EU leading the way on the ethical side of things. As we wrap up, what are your thoughts on where AI is headed in the next phase of all this?
It really is an exciting time to be watching all of this unfold. One of the things that's really grabbed my attention is this rise of, well, they call it general purpose AI, or GPAI for short. GPAI, okay. What's that all about?
So these are AI models that aren't just good at one specific thing. They can actually handle a bunch of different problems.
Mm-hmm.
Think about AI that can, write all kinds of creative content, translate languages perfectly, even write code.
It's like these AI models are getting closer and closer to how the human brain works, being able to learn new things and adapt.
In a way, yeah. But it's super important to remember that even the most advanced AI is still a tool at the end of the day. It's up to us to guide how it develops and make sure it's used ethically and responsibly. And that's why I think the EU's approach is so important, putting those human values first, especially as AI becomes more powerful.
It's good to know that there are, well, guardrails in place to keep things from going off the rails, so to speak. But beyond the ethical stuff, what do you see as some of the biggest potential benefits AI could bring?
The possibilities really are mind-blowing. Think about personalized medicine, treatments tailored to each individual, or AI that can detect diseases super early, or education that adapts to how each student learns best, or even transportation systems that are, safer, greener, and just work better overall. AI could even help us tackle some of those huge global challenges we're facing, like climate change and poverty.
It's like we're on the verge of this whole new era where AI could help create a world that's, well, just better, more sustainable, more fair.
It really does feel like a pivotal moment. And while it's great to be optimistic about the potential, I think it's also important to proceed carefully. We've got to be aware of the risks, those unintended consequences that can come with any new technology.
That's a good point. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners?
I'd say this. The AI revolution is happening right now, and it's going to impact all of us. It's up to every one of us to stay informed, have those thoughtful discussions about where this is all headed, and help shape AI in a way that benefits humanity.
Well said. It's a call to action, really, to be more than just bystanders, but active participants in shaping this incredible technology. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. It's been an amazing journey, and I hope our listeners are leaving with a sense of, I don't know, excitement about what the future holds, just like me.
Keep exploring and stay curious.